Three new Ohio State weapons met with the media on Tuesday. Tim May, the 40-year vet, Andy Backstrom, Spencer Holbrook. We're back to talk about it a little bit. Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ole Miss. He was two-time All-SEC performer. He's pretty good. He was here in the flesh, in Buckeye Scarlet, to talk to the media. Will Howard, former Kansas State quarterback, Big 12 champion, did not wear that Big 12 championship ring, but had a lot to say. And then Will Kacmarek, of green and white glory down at Ohio University. Got to talk to him a little bit about his favorite Court Street and his favorite Athens food. And by the way, he's going to play tight end for the Buckeyes. Tim, what was your big takeaway from talking to those three guys? I'm sure it starts and ends with Will Howard.
It definitely begins with him because he just from talking to him, it's like you're talking to the starting quarterback. You understand what I mean? There was an ambiance there that was undeniable. He's a guy that's been there, done that. He's had to prove himself all along. You know, he's kind of like a richer man's version of Stetson Bennett, a guy that maybe even where he went at Kansas State, they didn't believe in him to begin with, but he ends up being their starter, etc. And now he's coming here. He made no bones about it. He's coming here because he did look into going to the NFL, but he's coming here to enhance his stats. Or enhance his presence in possible consideration for an NFL job. As he said, when it came down, it was looking at somewhere between the third and sixth round if he'd come out and gone on to the NFL, which was, as he pointed out, was probably his other alternative as opposed to coming to Ohio State. And why not come to a place where if you just do your job, you may end up in New York City at the end of the season, you know what I mean, from the standpoint of being a Heisman finalist, and then you're walking into a tailor-made sports car here. If they get the real motor going, which is the offensive line, you can really have a hell of a season because all the other pieces are right there. So that's what stands out about it. He just seems like he just exudes stardom.
Yeah, every quarterback under Ryan Day has ended up in New York, Tim.
Well,
whether it's New York City or Syracuse, New York, every quarterback under Ryan Day.
You meant the state of. And by the way, I asked Will, I said, he's coming from Manhattan to Columbus. So there's a little bit of a step down for him there.
Yeah, exactly.
Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, for sure.
For people who don't get that joke.
Andy?
Yeah, you get the sense that Will Howard wants to prove what he can do with his arm. He ran a lot at Kansas State. He didn't have the wide receiver weapons that he will have at Ohio State. And I think he wants to show people what kind of thrower of the football he is. And he talked about that. Like, he will run, and that's definitely going to be part of this offense, and he's a capable runner. But he wants to show what he can do with his arm. And I think he made that pretty clear. He was asked about the pressure of being the Ohio State quarterback. We all saw what happened last season. Kacmarek transferring after 1 year, losing to Michigan. He said, I wouldn't be here if I didn't understand the pressure that comes with this. And I think there's something to be said about you have to live it to know it. But he's trying to understand it. He seems very confident. As Tim said, he exudes that energy. And he seems like, he feels like this is the right place for him at this point of his career.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive in his own right, the way that he kind of goes about his business. And like you said, Tim, he just kind of exudes the way quarterbacks talk.
Yeah.
And he's very much a quarterback, and that's just who Will Howard is. Also talked to Quinshon Judkins. I did not get the chance to talk to him just because, Will Howard was speaking and the quarterback. Tim, what'd you learn from Quinshon?
Well, number one, he's not really sure where his name Quinshon came from. I asked him about that because he says his parents gave it to him. I go, well, we know that. But it was an interesting first name, you got to admit.
Yeah.
And one I've never heard before, and I've been doing this for 50 years. And then number two, no, I've been a sports writer for 50. And I grew up in Alabama and Texas, but then number two, I asked him about his hairdo too. He's half blonde and half brunette, so to speak, and he just wanted to try something different. He said, and he stuck with it for like the last year. So those are two things that who cares about, right? But really, they're part of him. They're part of who he is.
Yeah.
Quinshon is sort of a hard name to remember, but then it's not. It's unique. This guy is unique. And what stands out to me about him, he kept getting this question about tread on his tires. I've brought that up when we've discussed it. And I said, as he was walking off, I said, you ought to adopt a nickname like Firestone or Goodyear, you know what I mean? Because that's what people are asking him about. But the point is, I think he is intrigued by coming to a place where he's not necessarily going to be the guy. He might be from week to week, but he's not going to be the guy all year long, meaning you can give it your ultimate effort when you are in there and stuff, teaming up with Trevion. And he likes the idea that Ohio State's offensive backfield, the running back situation, might be the best room in the country, including Dallin Hayden with him and Travion Henderson. He likes that. He embraces that.
Tim, I think it's more of he doesn't have to be the only guy.
Correct.
And so, there's a little bit of that where it just takes a little bit of the load off. You're not going into week 9 against, Mississippi or, against Ole Miss, Jesus, LSU.
LSU, yeah.
And carrying the ball 25 times after carrying it 27 times the week before.
Correct.
You're going into the Michigan State game or the Oregon game with 9 carries the game before, and you already had 100 yards in those 9 carries. So it's just a big difference, Andy, and I think that's something that Quinshon Judkins realized when he decided to transfer here. And, oh, by the way, that man is massive. Like,
Yeah.
there are linebackers who want to look like Quinshon Judkins. He is huge.
He just is built stout.
Yeah.
Well, he mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs multiple times. He talked about how he
Yeah.
really likes the way that the Detroit Lions use Jahmyr Gibbs, and anyone who watches the NFL and these playoffs knows that they split carries with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery there up north, and they really had success with that. Both those guys were great running backs for that team. The team offensively had great success. He said, it's not just the Detroit Lions. A lot of teams in college football, NFL football, they're splitting carries among running backs. It's where the position is going. People know that the shelf life is shorter, and they're trying to maximize that and let them play longer by using,
Makes
two
sense.
running back backfields that are really powerful and effective. So that seems to be something he grasps really well, something he understands. That being said, it's not like they're having conversations right now, hey, I'm going to take this many carries, I'm going to take this many carries. They're competitors. He said, like Trevion and I, we weren't having conversations about that per se, but they're very supportive of one another. He said that even before he came here, they were supportive of each other on social media. I asked him about the timing of his announcement. If everyone remembers, it was like a minute after the national championship ended. Michigan just won it all. He said, yeah, that wasn't really planned, but it just felt the right time. And I think Ohio State fans were really ready for that.
Yeah.
Any kind of good news at that point. And that was really the start of what's been just a marvelous January for this program.
Yeah, and Ohio State has helped its running game by getting Seth McLaughlin, the center from Alabama, by getting Quinshon Judkins, and by getting Will Howard. They have helped. This team has improved its running game right off the bat before you ever start spring ball, just on how effective all 3 of those guys were in the running game where they were before. You can talk about Seth McLaughlin's couple of bad snaps against Michigan. People can all they want, but the guy, turn on the tape, this guy can play. I mean, he's a big-time center. We'll see where he ends up playing for Ohio State. Will Howard is not afraid to run against anybody, against any defense, and that little thing that he adds that wasn't there for Ohio State the last 2 years during the regular season, and I'm talking, the last 3 years in the regular season, of the quarterback being a viable threat in the running game, that should make this offense really kick into another gear.
Well, we also talked to another guy who's going to help in the running game in a lot of ways, and that's Will Kacmarek from Ohio, who transferred in, very little known, not a lot of people. He had one offer coming out of college.
You knew who he was, though.
Yeah, I knew who Will was, but
Tell him why.
well, I'm a Bobcat. So
There you go. He knows what Court Street is, Ohio University. Go ahead.
stand up and cheer.
I paid
but
2 years tuition for one of my sons to go to Ohio University, so go ahead.
I'm paying like 37 years tuition because that's
There
how
you
long
go.
it's going to take me to pay
Oh,
off.
no, man.
Those checks keep cashing though. But anyway, Will Kacmarek is a player who did a lot of dirty work for Ohio. Doesn't get a lot of praise at all. Had a couple catches, had a touchdown in a big moment in the MAC championship game a couple years ago in a loss to Toledo. But just a guy who gets his nose dirty, gets his hands dirty, gets his jersey dirty, and is not afraid to do it. He's played in a lot of Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, where not only is he not getting a lot of glory, but the entire roster's not getting a lot of glory because ESPN puts him in a terrible spot. I could go on for years about that, but like, this is a guy who doesn't care to get attention. He just wants to hit people. And that's probably what this offense needs. You can talk about Will Howard being a big addition and Quinshon Judkins and Seth McLaughlin. They're huge additions. But like, you win on the margins in college football when you get to the level that Ohio State's trying to get to and hang national championship banners. Like, look at Michigan's fullback. That guy, I don't even know what his name is, but he's got a national championship ring on his finger now. Will Kacmarek is here because he knows he's not going to get a lot of praise, but he's going to do a lot of dirty work for this program and maybe put a national championship ring on his finger because he's going to be blocking for these guys. And that is as important, in my opinion, as landing any of these guys because you need those guys at the bottom of your 85 so the top of your 85 looks good. I'm not trying to sell you guys on why you should be excited about a 3-star Ohio transfer. I could do that if I wanted to because I love the Bobcats. But like, I think this move is really big for Ohio State to get a dirty worker to come in and help run block, Andy.
Well, and, by the way, to talk more about the run game, go back to Quinshon for a second. Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator now here at Ohio State. he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama when they had Jahmyr Gibbs. So another
Correct.
thing to
There you
connect the
go,
dots
yeah.
a little bit about Quinshon and maybe his role here. But this run game needs to be better, and it should be just on paper based off the guys we're just talking about. Whether it's Will Kacmarek, whether it's Quinshon Judkins, or Will Howard being an equalizer in the red zone. We saw the potential of that with Devin Brown. We just couldn't see it actualized given the injuries that he had to go through this season. But if Will Howard can stay upright and stay healthy, that's a whole nother dimension of this offense that you're kind of unlocking.
Yeah.
And, we'll just see how it goes. But the run game can be better even without anything talking about the offensive line. There are pieces that you can bring in that just make it better. We saw that with Travion Henderson coming back after missing 3 games, and just immediately, I know the offensive line was part of that, but it just felt different.
Well, I'm gonna write a little thing for us about that. I promise y'all we'll write it, by the way. That in this free agent period, Ohio State scored 3 points against Missouri. A lot of it was due to the offensive line play, in my opinion. But in this free agent period, they signed what? How many? Six transfer portal guys, 5 offensive, right?
4 probably who are going to help
Yeah.
this year, though, on offense.
But I'm talking about they signed 5 offensive, or got 5 offensive guys and 1 defensive guy who might be the best player in the country at his position, Caleb Downs at safety. There's no doubt that coming out of this past season, Ryan Day felt like his offense underachieved for a lot of reasons. The main thing is they didn't score as many points as Ohio State fans and anybody else, and even Ryan Day are used to. They addressed that big time, and I think we were all impressed by getting to talk to these guys, Will Kacmarek included, like you just talked about. A guy who was a 3-star or whatever you want to.
No star.
No
One
star,
offer.
yeah, no star. Will
To
Howard,
Ohio.
a 3-star maybe low
out of
4-star.
Pennsylvania, yeah.
Yeah, who had to go to, went to Kansas State. He wasn't recruited by the big guys.
No.
In a big time way, but they've proven themselves,
Well,
and that's huge.
can I add to this too? Quinshon Judkins,
Correct.
from the state of Alabama, did not get an Alabama offer.
Correct.
Did not get, I don't think, got an Auburn offer. Like, some of the bigger programs in the SEC passed on it.
Correct.
So he proved them wrong, and now he's at Ohio State. So, like, all of these
Almost say
pieces,
correct one more time. Correct.
all of these pieces, Andy, coming together to make this offense what could be pretty special, and that includes the guy who's kind of taking the mantle behind me from Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, now owning the Monarch machine like his old pal Marvin Harrison Jr. used to. Like, the offense looks like it could be pretty special, and those transfer additions only raise that from all the talent that is returning to this roster.
You need it to be, because this defense is definitely going to be special. It was already close to elite, and I think it was just missing a few pieces. Maybe you need to create a little bit more takeaways, maybe, just a little bit more havoc to create next year, but otherwise it was pretty darn good. Now it's going to be even better. But the offense needs to live up to its bill too.
The cherry on top, Caleb Downs is.
I know. Yeah,
I mean,
but the expectations now.
I don't think but the thing is, just turn on the tape like we talked about. Caleb Downs is the real deal.
Absolutely. But the expectations overall,
Yeah.
huge.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that was my takeaway from Will
I thought you
Howard.
meant defensive expectations.
Well, whole team, because of the defense and because of the offensive weapons they've added. I think my takeaway from Will Howard is he's a man that, succeed or fail, like he's going to take this head on and embrace it and be confident that he can live up to this. He's not shying away from it.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna live in the spotlight and take it. And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway.
He's definitely a charismatic voice. I will say that.
Yes.
He has a presence to him that you want in your quarterback position. There's a lot of guys who are adding to this Ohio State program. Tim May, the 40-year vet, he's going to cover it all year like he's always done for the last now 41 years going on. We're going to have to change to the 41-year vet
Yeah,
or come up with a new nickname.
We'll see.
Maybe we'll just start calling him Old Man.
There you go. Yeah, I like that.
Andy Backstrom, the Old Man, and I are going to get out of here, and we're going to go cover the Ohio State Buckeyes like we do 365 days a year. They're going to let us back in here soon to talk to more Buckeyes. Whenever they do that, we'll have full coverage at lettermenrow.com. Go there right now. Get your first month for $1. That's right, $1. Come join the party. It's growing every day, and we love having fun on the Letterman Lounge message board.
Peacock.
Tim May, the Old Man, Andy Backstrom, and I, we're going to get out of here. We'll talk to you guys later. Go to lettermenrow.com. Get full coverage.